Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Wild West Banter podcast. On today's episode, we are going to be going over some camp updates as well as the preseason Week 2 games. But to start, we are going to be going over our dynasty teams that we drafted last Sunday. So, as always, my name is Nick, joined by Matthew Griffin. Matthew, how was your week?
I'm a little less encouraged than I was last week. I don't even want to say not as optimistic. It just wasn't a great showing this week on couple different things. And then to sprinkle in, we get the Tyler Biadasz news. I don't know if you saw today, he is placed on season-ending IR. Mm-hmm. So no hope of him coming back. I'll jump into that when we get to the Chargers side of things. But, yeah, not as thrilled as I was last week, that's for sure. Just a little bit of a step back, and then now we're battling some injuries, just like Chargers fashion. But otherwise, on the dynasty side, I am very pleased with how my team turned out. I'm excited to jump into that with you. We made the first trade of the year, so that was cool. Yeah.
Most importantly, before we get into the dynasty side of stuff for today, so one of our dynasty teammates, or league mates for that matter, his name is Vince. I do work with him. The guy sucks. He's not fun at all. No, being real, Vince is an awesome guy. He's hilarious. He means well. But at the draft last weekend, he brought some beers by. He left 2 of them here at Matthew's house. It's called the Cali Squeeze Blood Orange. It's a citrus wheat ale. I think Cali Squeeze is the brewery's name.
Squeezed in California.
I don't
like
know.
wheat ales, so I'm excited to try it. Shout out Vince for leaving these. Let's see how this tastes.
I actually really like it a lot. Vince. I mean, you have really good taste in beer.
A little on the sweeter side. I don't think I could have a shitload of these, but that's good. Yeah, that is good. Great flavor. Wheat ales are always solid. A good 5%. It's an easy drink. Another good summer beer. Mm-hmm. I mean, beer's good year round. Yeah. But there are summer beers. Yeah, that's a good beer. No, Shout out to Vince. Appreciate you leaving these. These are good.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm going to give it a solid, I think, 8.3 out of 10. I know Vince is probably going to shit on me for that because he probably thinks it's a 10 out of 10. But
I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah, no, it's a good beer. I like it a lot. Thank you so much, Vince. I know you were planning on probably bringing these home, but thank you for leaving these here. So.
Here's my thoughts on the dynasty. What we should do, team by team. Let's just go by positions. Okay. You say what you got, say what I got.
We're just doing our 2 teams. Correct?
Just our 2 teams. Okay. Yeah, and we can look at the strength of each of our rosters and kind of what our thoughts were when drafting these, and where we're going. We won't spend too much time on this, but we can just chat about it. Obviously, with this being a dynasty league, it was a 25-round draft, so there is a lot of bench. You do get a taxi squad and IR and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, with that being said, it's a super flex league, so that alludes to you're able to start 2 quarterbacks. And quarterbacks are extra important in this league because passing touchdowns are worth 5 points rather than the 4 points that they are in normal leagues. So quarterbacks just mean a little bit more in a dynasty super flex league. So if you want to start at your quarterback position, what route did you go?
Yeah, so my plan was to pray Justin Herbert hits me in the second. Mm-hmm. Granted, I was second overall pick, so I was at the very end of the second. Mm-hmm. He went early in the second. Baker got him, so I had to transition off that. And with this being the super flex, I usually don't go quarterback, so then I usually don't go back-to-back either. Yeah. But I did go back-to-back quarterbacks in this one. I have as my starter Jalen Hurts, and I have Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. And I did not grab a third quarterback.
Okay.
So if Mahomes ACL fucks him up again or something like that, I'll have to be scrambling. But I feel very comfortable with this. I feel confident. And it's funny because I'm actually not a fan of either of these quarterbacks in real life. I'm not a big fan of Jalen Hurts and his game. However, he is a good fantasy quarterback.
Great.
I mean, that guy is arguably a top 5 fantasy quarterback, top 10 at least. So I really like the upside of Jalen Hurts. He consistently can put up close to 20 a game. And then with Mahomes, for a QB2 in my flex, I'm banking on a bounce back year from Mahomes, and if the weapons are good, and the offense gets back to form, I could see a very strong year from Mahomes. I don't think the ceiling is, being a top 6 to 9 fantasy quarterback for him. But I wouldn't be shocked if Mahomes cracks the top 10 of fantasy this year either. Sure. I think the trajectory of him could be high. I think he can bounce back this year.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really like Jalen Hurts for you. The guy has potential to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback. With Patrick Mahomes, I think the run game for him is going to be pretty non-existent for the rest of his career, and you're pretty much just banking on him throwing a bunch of yards and touchdowns. Yeah. So we'll see how that works out for you. I don't like that there's not any depth behind that for you. Yep. A little scary there. But I guess, with this 2027 draft class, there's a lot of good quarterbacks coming out, so maybe you can kind of focus on quarterback there. As far as quarterbacks for my team, I absolutely love the route that I went. So I had the 3rd overall pick. With the 3rd overall pick, I ended up taking Drake May. So he is known to be the second best quarterback in terms of dynasty fantasy football. Yep. Given that he is still young, he's coming off an incredible year. We'll see if he can replicate what he did last year. That's not necessarily what I'm banking on. Sure. But I am banking on him being a perennial top 10 guy. And then I also have Bo Nix as my second quarterback. So with Bo Nix, one, obviously I'm a fan of the Denver Broncos, so I wanted him on my team. I typically don't play.
That's half your dynasty team.
It would shut the hell up. I typically don't play fantasy football with my team in mind. Right. And it's kind of been easy to do that with the Broncos over the last 10 years because we really haven't had a viable fantasy option at any position. But with Bo Nix, in terms of, if you look at what he was last year, he was the number 7 quarterback in all of fantasy football last year. And he's still young, and I think that there's still some juice to squeeze out of him to where he can be even better. So my thought process on this is I have 2 top 10 perennial quarterbacks on my team. And then I also did end up taking C.J. Stroud kind of as a insurance policy. I don't know if it's the greatest insurance policy. I know that he still has some upside. He's still young, so we'll see how that goes. But I don't really need much out of him. He's just kind of a guy that I can plug and play if I need to.
Yeah, I think I would probably give you the nod here for quarterback room, especially Dynasty. The trajectory of your room is better, and especially with Drake May. And I think the Patriots do take a step back, but I don't think it's going to be nearly as big as some people do. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually a believer in Drake May. I really like his game. I think he's going to be around for a long time and be very good for a long time. So I can't give you anything on that pick. That's an awesome dude to have for Dynasty. With Bo Nix, yeah, that's a good QB2, and you have the rushing upside with him as well. And the offense is only getting better, right? They're adding some weapons. If Jonah Coleman pans out, if Dobbins stays healthy, you bring in guys like Jalen Waddle, emergence of Pat Bryant. You get Davis Webb calling plays. I think the ceiling of your offense is actually going up. And so with that, I think Bo Nix's is also going up. So I like that QB room for you.
All right. Well,
you want to go to running backs?
Yeah. You want to talk about yours first or me?
I'll start it off. So my starting backs as of now for week 1, I have Jahmyr Gibbs, who was my second overall pick, and I have Cam Skattebo. And then for depth at the position, this is where I really like the depth of my running back room. I have Blake Corum, Brayshaw Tootin, Rico Dowdle. I picked up Najee Harris as insurance for Cam Scat. And then, oh yeah, that was it. I had Emmett Johnson on taxi squad, so he's not holding a roster spot. And then Zach Charbonnet is on my IR just in case in Seattle. But Gibbs was a no-brainer for me. That was my plan all along, unless he went first overall. I was leaning him over Bijan. If I had the chance at both, which I ended up doing, I still went Gibbs. He scores a lot more touchdowns. He gets in the end zone a lot more than Bijan. That's going to be valuable. He's electric out of the backfield. He's valuable in the pass game for PPR for running backs. He should be the number one running back in all of the NFL this year for fantasy, in my opinion. So nothing bad there. I really like the upside of Cam Scatterbo. The injury scares me a little bit, but I like what I did to ensure that if something were to happen. But especially in PPR, they are going to feed that guy the rock. They don't have a lot in that room. They just brought in Najee Harris because they didn't even have a viable RB2 behind him. Mm-hmm. I think the volume of Cam is going to be high, and he's going to catch a lot of passes. And when you just look at the sample size before his injury, I mean, he was putting up numbers left and right. I think the ceiling's high there. I'm higher on Blake Corum than most people. Tootin is in line for RB1 in Jacksonville and has had a great offseason. He was one of your favorites coming out of the draft last year. I didn't even know the guy till you told me about him, but I'm starting to feel a lot better about having him. And then I grabbed Rico Dowdle, who's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons and is now in Pittsburgh. He is getting not an RB1 role. He's kind of a split backfield right now with Jaylen Warren, but a good guy to have on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Gibbs is the no-brainer there. With the rest of your running backs, it's kind of like I feel like you're kind of praying just a little bit. Obviously, Scatterbo was really good when he was healthy.
Yep.
So we'll see how that pans out. I don't know about the longevity of his career, or if he can kind of
and his style of play is dangerous. I mean, that guy's a hard-nosed dude. I wouldn't surprise me if he gets hurt again.
Yeah, and then Bashil Tootin and Rico Dowdle, while they Rico had a good year last year, but both of those guys are kind of like you're taking the ultimate swing, you know. Yeah. They could be top 20 backs, but they could also just be your average Joe guys, you know. And I don't know the longevity on either of those guys either, so.
I'm higher with Corum, too. He put up over 700 yards last year, which is not being talked about enough. And I know they have Kyron Williams there, and he is still the RB1. But all they keep talking about the Rams is that Corum's snap count's going to go higher. And if this gets to a 50-50 backfield, who knows? Or if, God forbid, something happened to Kyron. But I really like, even just last year, the incorporation of Corum. He still put up 700 yards in that offense as an RB2, and his load is only getting heavier. Yeah. What do you got for running backs?
Yeah, so I really love my running backs. So I have Omarion Hampton and Quinshon Judkins. Those are my two starters. And then you get into the depth here. I have Kyle Monungai, J.K. Dobbins, and then some younger guys in Mike Washington Jr. and Jonah Coleman. Mm-hmm. So obviously with my top two guys, Omarion Hampton, I think that he could be a top 5 fantasy running back fairly easily for the foreseeable future. And then Quinshon Judkins, while it's somewhat of a gamble there, I think that I'm pretty comfortable in saying that he'll be a top 15 running back for at least the next few seasons. Obviously, there are some injury questions with him. There's some questions with him in terms of the receiving game. But the guy's 22 years old. When we're talking about Hampton and Judkins, they're both extremely young and have a lot of juice left on them. So I have two top 15 backs there that I'm really comfortable with. When we get into our depth, Kyle Monungai is one of the better running back twos in this league behind Swift. I'm a really huge fan of Monungai. I ended up getting J.K. Dobbins. Obviously, he's the starter for the Broncos, so he's my guy that if I need to plug and play this year, I'm comfortable getting, 10, 15 points out of him in a start. Yep. But there's obviously the injury questions there. But I do have his handcuff in Jonah Coleman. I think Jonah Coleman will be something to be talked about in the years to come. And then I have a solid guy behind Ashton Genty in Mike Washington Jr. Yeah. So that was more of just a kind of a swing there with Mike Washington Jr.
Yeah, I think the ceiling of their running back room is very high if it pans out. But kind of like mine, I do think it is a little bit of a gamble also. Just with Judkins coming off a broken fibula, that's a major, major injury. Granted, he's very young in his career, so his ability to rebound from that is much higher. And if he does, I love Judkins. He's an awesome back. So that 1-2, if Judkins stays healthy, is fantastic. I actually wanted Dobbins on my bench, and I think you got him before I did. So I like that pick a lot too. But another guy with major injury problems that we don't know, how that could look. But you insured yourself well by picking up Coleman. So you kind of offset the risk of Dobbins with plugging in Jonah Coleman, who I think will agree is probably not going to be as electric as J.K. Dobbins is right now in his career. However, that's a great handcuff to have. So with Monungai, also another guy I liked in the draft, and his outlook is only getting better too. He just had an awesome showing in his preseason game, and I like him a lot.
Perfect. All right. Well, wide receivers, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like you have some pretty good wide receivers. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a good receiver room. The depth, we'll see how that works out. But with my starters, it's CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, T. Higgins. Love how this shaked out, and I love the age of the group too. I mean, these aren't Devontae Adams type guys at the tail end of their career. These guys are going to be around for a long time. CeeDee's my number 1. I got Nico at number 2, and especially now that they just lost Higgins, a lot of that offense focal point's going to be Nico Collins, and then T. Higgins in Baltimore just been old reliable. He's just a fantastic player. So those three are gonna head the group there, and then depth behind them. I took some flyers here just to see if something pans out. For one, Trey Tucker in line for maybe wide receiver 1 or 2 with the Raiders. I don't like the fantasy outlook with Trey Tucker, but I think the volume might be there. Malik Washington, I'm sorry, is in line for wide receiver 1 in Miami. So another one that I think if they get stable quarterback play there, the volume with Malik Washington could be high. And then Jacoby Myers, Xavier Worthy, Juwan Jennings. And then I have 2 guys on taxi squad just for the long term. One of them I think can make a name for himself quicker. I have Denzel Boston and Brennan Thompson, who I traded with you for. With Denzel Boston, I'm very high on him. I liked him out of the draft. He's put a lot of great tape together with the Browns. It's just, when is he going to get the opportunity, and what does their quarterback play look like in order to get him the ball? Obviously, they brought in Casey Concepcion. They still have Jerry Jeudy. So at minimum, he's battling for a 3 spot. So we'll see what happens there. I don't foresee Jeudy being there long term, and I expect Boston to be stepping up quickly in that offense. And then with Brennan Thompson, this was a guy, obviously you've heard me talk about him a lot. I really like the potential of Brennan Thompson. And it's not going to be in the volume. It's just going to be in the big play sense. Because he might only get you 2 to 3 catches, but those 2 to 3 can top 100 yards with the speed that he has and the vertical threat that he's going to bring. He's not a guy I'm looking to even bring off taxi squad this year, to be honest, unless, God forbid, something happens to our wide receiver core. He's going to be our wide receiver 4. I don't think I'll activate him to my team this year, but he's a guy that I'm comfortable stashing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like with your wide receivers, it's very top-heavy. I really like that you have CeeDee Lamb and Nico Collins there. Those guys are going to be probably top 8 wide receivers for the next, 3 years. So, really good for you. I mean, it's kind of the depth there that you're kind of just waiting and seeing.
Just a couple flyers.
So, yeah. As far as my wide receivers go, I kind of took the route of young, high upside guys that could be great. So I have Emeka Egbuka. I have Jalen Waddle, which isn't necessarily a young guy, but in a new offense. Brian Thomas Jr. So those are the guys that are going to be in my starting lineup. And then as far as my depth wide receivers, I ended up having Casey Concepcion, Jacoby Lane, Cyrus Allen, Pat Bryant, and Chris Bell, and then I have Ricky Pearsall that I obviously have on IR.
Right. I like what you did with the rookies of Jacoby and Cyrus, because one, you can stash them on your taxi squad if push comes to shove and you need roster spots, but also the ceiling of both those guys. And Rashad Bateman just got arrested, but he's also been mentioned in trade talks too. Yeah. So they're very impressed with Jacoby Lane. And then we've talked enough about Cyrus Allen and how quickly he's getting involved in this Chiefs offense with the ones. And we know better than others, if Mahomes gets a target that he trusts and likes, he's going to be utilized. So I really like what you did there. Brian Thomas Jr. does worry me. But I mean, you're banking on the rebound. And if he does, I really like it. However, just does worry me with what he did last year. And then the emergence of Parker Washington is the one there right now. And then them trading for Jacoby Myers and his involvement in that offense. I think that offense has potential and Lawrence can sling it. It's just he does worry me if this year is similar to last year. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm comfortable having him as my wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
Having Igbuka and Waddle as my top 2 wide receivers, I think that Igbuka is definitely in line to take a huge step forward this year. And Jalen Waddle, I think, is going to be really great as well. So having those as my top 2 guys, and then being able to have the flex option of Brian Thomas Jr. or a guy like Casey Concepcion is really exciting for me. So,
yeah, I like it. Not much more to get into. We don't have to debate these as much, but tight end room, I'm very happy with it. I have Kyle Pitts, George Kittle, and Juwan Johnson. So really happy with the depth at tight end. Yeah. And George Kittle, not in the long term, but if I'm looking to compete in the next 1 to 2 years, he should be my starter. And it looks like he could even play as soon as week 1 as he's been activated. So really like George Kittle there. I'm banking Kyle Pitts can do what he did last year. He had 900-something yards last year. He's just a gamble of a dude anyways of what you're going to get. And then Juwan Johnson's just a very productive. He'll get you anywhere from 6 to 12, and then he'll throw in the flyer games of 18 to 20. Yeah. But good depth at that position. Kicker, I went with Cam Little, one of the better kickers in this league with Jacksonville, and I think they'll be on a higher scoring offense. So like that. With defense, it's never been something I prioritize, which was different in Dynasty because you can't stream defenses like you do in other leagues as frequently. But I went with the Chargers defense and the Niners defense, so I'm fine with both of those.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add there. I really like your tight end room. I think you did a great job there. So, as far as my tight end room, this is kind of the one that I'm like most uneasy about just because I have no clue how it's going to shake out. So I ended up taking Harold Fannin as my starting tight end. With that, we saw a lot of promise out of this guy last year. He's extremely young. If you haven't noticed the theme of my team, it is very young team.
Absolutely.
But Harold Fannin, if he is able to replicate what he did last year, he is a top 6 fantasy tight end in the NFL. So we'll see how that shakes out. Obviously, it kind of makes me a little bit nervous because that Browns offense is terrible. Who the hell is throwing him the ball? So we'll see about that. As far as depth guys I have at that position, I ended up taking Travis Kelce and Chig Okonkwo. I really like the upside in that offense for Chig Okonkwo. Yeah. I think that could be a solid backup tight end for me. And then obviously with Travis Kelce, this is his last season. If he even puts up similar numbers to what he did last year,
still productive.
It's still very productive. And if I need him in a pinch, I'm very comfortable with that. So.
Yeah, agreed.
And then, just to kind of fill out my team here as far as defense and kickers, I have Jake Bates and then Tyler Loop. Kickers and defenses went a lot earlier than I thought they were going to.
Yeah, they did.
So I kind of ended up just taking guys here because I'll be honest, I missed out on the kickers and defenses that I wanted. And then as far as defenses go, I have the New England Patriots and the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm gonna pause for some breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Ashton Genty went down and could not put pressure on his leg leaving the field.
Oh, no.
So, it says Raiders gathered for a moment as team acknowledged the injury. Running back Ashton Jeanty suffered a lower leg injury at practice, unable to put weight on that leg leaving the field. You got Mike Washington Jr., so good for you. We'll see. No, in all seriousness, this sucks.
No, that's terrible.
This sucks. You got to hope for the best here.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about that Raiders team, it's what made them scary was Ashton Jeanty and Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, with this, that just takes away half of their offense. And you never want to see a guy get hurt, especially if it's something serious like it kind of appears to be.
That's scary. Very scary.
So, man, I mean, yeah, I hate the Raiders, but I never want to see that. That's terrible, especially for a guy that has so much promise in this league.
Yeah.
But, wow, that's a first for us. A little bit of breaking news on an episode.
Live. So now that we did that, I'll keep monitoring Jeanty. If any more news comes out on that, I'll let you know. Otherwise, we can jump into just the next week of camp and practice and preseason week 2 and the status of what's going on here. So with that, do you have a preference on the pecking order here and where you want to start?
Yeah. Well, we can, I guess since we were just talking about Jeanty, we'll talk about the Raiders first. Kind of what I've noticed is that we get really excited and entertaining when we talk about the Broncos and the Chargers. So we're going to start off with boring you guys, and then we'll get into one of our teams so we get you excited. Then we'll get into the Chiefs to bore you guys a little bit more, and then we'll finish off with the Chargers so we can be a little bit more entertaining. So, let's start off with the Raiders here. So from their Week 2 preseason game, some of the biggest news that came out of this, Fernando Mendoza, he looked mediocre, I would say. He didn't look great. I mean, he had that the pick 6, and outside of that, really did not look great.
Yeah, you're going to get these hiccups in their development, and the biggest thing to keep an eye on is just the rebound from it. I think Mendoza has such a great mindset and attitude with this. Obviously, you never want to see it. It's your first overall pick. We don't want to see these struggles, but they're not uncommon, and this doesn't mean to pull the plug or anything like that. I actually liked his response to it. He's like, I threw it to the wrong team. Yeah. It was bad. Threw it to the wrong team. I'll get better. And that's the mindset you have to have. Just that short memory, forget it, and move on. But I will say he threw a couple picks in practice throughout the week too. Just overall not the greatest week for Mendoza. He's lucky that he's in a situation that's going to give him a little bit of ample time. And we all know with Kirk's going to be starting, and Mendoza's going to take his time. We both still fully expect Mendoza's taking over this team at some point this year, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, not a great showing. Not a ton of flashiness. There might have been some positives sprinkled in here and there, but that just sucks to see.
Yeah, I mean, his response kind of reminded me of a Bo Nix response in his rookie year. We were playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I believe it was week 2 of Bo Nix's rookie season, and he threw an interception, and his response after the game was, I threw it to the wrong team.
Yeah.
So
not much more to say.
Yeah, that's kind of the mindset that you have to have there. Again, I don't think that this is going to be an indicator of who he is. I don't think he's going to be anything great in this league, but I think people need to chill out with already calling him a bust. So
agreed.
Perfect. So the Raiders' offensive line, we knew that this was going to be pretty bad outside of Linderbaum, and that was proven against the Houston Texans this week. It was rough.
Yeah, and it looks like it's a lot of the depth of the position, too. They didn't start a bunch of guys. We didn't see Linderbaum, and I don't think we saw JPJ as we did week 1. But the depth at the position is concerning, too. Whether someone goes down or you're just getting subpar and adequate play from guys, they don't have a lot of backup options to rely on to get a spark. The overall room as a whole is pretty uninspiring. We know Linderbaum is a top 3 center in the league, and he's the anchor of the line. But outside of him, it doesn't do much for me, and I think it could be an area of concern moving forward this year for them.
Yeah. No, it's it's rough there in Las Vegas right now. So, but some positive news for the Las Vegas Raiders. Mike Washington Jr. He did it again. He looked pretty good in this game. And obviously that's even more promising now that we have this Ashton Jeanty news. But yeah, he looked pretty damn good in this week too.
Yeah, and if, God forbid, something does happen to Jeanty, this, like you said, with that news, this is just a great opportunity for Washington. I'll talk about it when we get to the Chargers with Slaughter. You never want your time to come in form of a season-ending injury, but you don't get a say when your time comes. And sometimes it's going to come in that fashion, and when it does, all you can do is be ready because you don't get a lot of those opportunities. And if you get one, you better take advantage of it. And Washington is doing a great job with the Raiders in preseason and in camp and showing them that they have a solidified 1-2 punch with this guy in Jeanty. And, like I said, I pray that Genty's okay and everything is going to be fine this year. But for them, they got to love what they're seeing out of Mike Washington Jr. and the value that they got with him in the draft. That looks like a fantastic pick.
Yeah. All right, so moving to the side of the ball that we have been projecting to be bad, the defense, they're looking bad here in the preseason. They struggled again against this Houston Texans offense the entire game. It wasn't close, really, as far as the offense versus defense here. So I believe the Raiders ended up winning this one, but, I mean, it didn't look good for the defense.
At the very end.
Yeah.
No, the defense, and this was a carried over from the first preseason game.
Yeah.
It's been a struggle. It just has. And it's been a struggle in the secondary. Their run defense has been highlighted as a major area of concern. Outside of Max, generating pass rush can be a concern. The only things I want to hit on with their defensive struggles, with Jermod McCoy, it seems like he does need some time. We're seeing a good amount of mistakes coming from Jermod McCoy, and that's fine. They drafted him in the 4th round with the upside that he could have the talent of being a CB1. I don't think they're in any rush for him, and I'm fine with that. You just got to give this guy time and hope that you scored a diamond in the rough at that stage of the draft. So the cornerback room as a whole, the one thing I'll say on the bright side is Treydon Stukes has looked pretty solid, and he's done really well for them so far. They're starting to talk about this guy needs to be in with the ones, and he needs to be starting. So on the bright side, Treydon Stukes has been really good.
Yeah. Last little bit on the Raiders here. So we've been talking for several months now that we don't know who their wide receiver 1 is going to be. And at least through the first 2 weeks of preseason here, that question still hasn't been answered. So, Matthew, have you seen anything out of this Raiders offense that it alludes to anyone kind of stepping into that wide receiver 1? Or are we still looking at a committee here of Trey Tucker and Jalen Naylor and other misfit guys?
Yeah, I think the room starts with those two. And when they're sitting, their first-team offense, Trey Tucker is sitting, and usually Jalen Naylor is sitting also. So if that tells you anything about their role in this offense, I think those two are your top 2 guys. Which we already talked about, is probably not a good thing. I will say I did read this from Clint Kubiak that I just wanted to bring up. He said our wide receiver unit took a step backwards. They had costly drops and very poor third down execution and separation. So he even talked about this was just overall not a good week. The overall wide receiver room as a unit took a step back. They talk about the rookie Malik Benson, who allegedly had a really good connection with Mendoza in camp and was like Mendoza's favorite target. He had a bunch of drops and didn't look good. So as a whole, stock down on Raiders wide receiver room.
Yeah, well, this kind of leads into the last talking point that we have for the Raiders, and that's their discipline, lots of penalties. So we talk about Clint Kubiak and how promising of a young head coach he is. with these young head coaches that have never been head coaches in the NFL before, they oftentimes bring in support staff such as coordinators or positional coaches that are in first-time roles as well. Yeah. And I feel like lots of times you can kind of see that take place in the discipline and the penalties because these coaches either aren't good or they're young at what they're doing. They're so focused on the just trying to teach them the technical parts of football, and they don't focus on the discipline of football. Sure. So we're really seeing a young team plus a young coaching staff come together, at least here in the first couple weeks of preseason, and that has had a lot of discipline problems. So
yeah, it has. And again, this is something I'm bringing up straight from Clint Kubiak. He called the team's penalty issues lack of discipline and unacceptable. Said he blasted the team for avoidable mistakes like taunting penalties, holdings, and extending opponents' drives on third down stops, face masks, substitution infractions, stuff like that. He did take full responsibility and said, we put this on ourselves as coaches with how we educate them, what we're practicing, and what we're drilling. It's on us as coaches, and we have to get this fixed. No. So, what you would expect as an answer from him in terms of their responsibility aspect. But, yeah, just they got to clean that up.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how that comes to fruition. Obviously, it's going to be a coaching point. But given that it is a young coaching staff, it's a young team, I don't really see these things going away, at least this year. So that's enough about the Raiders. Sorry, these beers are making me have some indigestion problems. What the hell, Vince? This is a problem. Perfect. We're going to get into the Denver Broncos next. Not much positive here for the Broncos. This is the first preseason loss that the Denver Broncos have had in the last 2 seasons. I believe they have won 7 consecutive preseason games. This was the first one that we've lost in over 2 years, which obviously isn't indicative of much. But we'll start off with the positives. The first-team offense I was really pleased with. We finally got to see Bo Nix and Jalen Waddle on the field, and that looked incredible. Being able to just see Jalen Waddle throw a pass to or Bo Nix throw a pass to Jalen Waddle and see Waddle kind of make an electric play out of it was all I needed. We've been craving that for several months now. Jalen Waddle was our first-round pick this year, and it was great to see that pay off. So before we get into the bad stuff, Bo Nix and Jalen Waddle, what'd you think?
Yeah, super exciting for you guys. Mm-hmm. The connection looks great. It looks like something we're going to be getting familiar with throughout the season, which is exactly what you expected when signing him and bringing him in and what you want to see, and seeing how those two have meshed together since as early as the OTAs, with Knicks being somewhat available and then throughout training camp and then preseason. That first pass, it was like a 35-yard gain, and it was in the middle of the field, which isn't Bo Nix's thing.
Yeah,
that
was like the
coolest.
I think that was the most optimistic part about this specific play was that this pass to Jalen Waddle was to the middle of the field.
It was.
Bo Nix,
he delivered.
He normally doesn't do that. So
no, he doesn't.
It was really refreshing to see.
For a non-Broncos fan, it was kind of like, I don't want to get used to this. But as a Broncos fan, if I were you, I'd say, I'd be super excited.
Yeah. So the last little bit of kind of positive stuff here, I think R.J. Harvey kind of proved himself to be the receiving threat that we came accustomed to last year. Obviously, he had that touchdown in the first drive for the Denver Broncos. And that wasn't an easy catch to make. With that being said, Bo Nix threw it right where it needed to be.
That was a pretty ball.
It was right in between Harvey's numbers. But R.J. Harvey had 2 defenders on him, and he made the catch, and it was great. So good to see Harvey in that role. I think that that's kind of the perfect fit for him, is just going to be our third down back that, maybe – it's okay that he's not going to be the most dynamic runner, but if he can be an elite pass catcher out of the backfield, I'm more than fine with that.
Yeah.
And being able to see that
he has
connection,
something to offer there for sure.
Yeah, being able to see that connection early on here in the preseason was great. And then the last little bit here is the O-line. They really looked good. It was clean pockets for most of the time. Especially while Bo Nix was out there. So happy to see that. Now, the Broncos lost big here, so obviously there's going to be some negatives with this game. I'll kind of start this out with how the defense started off here.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think that the defense played bad. But what was the most frustrating part about this game? It was the penalties and the discipline. And what pisses me off about this is that this was the biggest problem of this Denver Broncos team last year. And the fact that we're starting to see that carry over into a new year makes me a little bit worried that maybe that is just kind of a little bit of the identity of this team. And this Broncos defense is one of the top 2 defenses in the league, but if you're undisciplined and you're, jumping offside or you're taking just stupid penalties when it's 3rd and 4 and you're giving the team first downs and they're staying on the field, you're not going to win a lot of games that way. And we're talking, the theme of this Broncos team all offseason has been, okay, they've won however many one-score games last year. In order to change that narrative this year, you have to cut out the dumbass penalties and become more disciplined. Without that, those one-score games are going to take a switch. And we're going to lose more of those than we did last year.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And we talked about that, right? You won 11 games last year by 1 score. And that, what is the what's the word I'm looking for? You know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
Anyways, you can't rely on that. That's not a recipe to be successful in the league long term. It's not. It worked for 1 year, and that's great, but you can't rely on that because the likelihood of that repeating itself is not high. And that's a great point, is you got to be able to be disciplined and play clean football to give yourself the chance, right? You start extending drives with uncharacteristic penalties like that, you're going to catch yourself on the tail end of these one-score games, and now you're on the cusp of missing playoffs by 5 games that you could have won by 1 score, but you couldn't get off the field. With your defense, first thing, did you see Surtain's hit on Watson?
Dude, unbelievable. That was awesome.
Great hit by Surtain.
Set the tone for the season, Surtain.
That was awesome to see. And I think he had a fumble he forced before that, but it was called back.
Correct. It was
but it sounded like it was a beautiful strip.
Yeah.
Jordan Love looked good. It was like 5 of 7, 56 and a touchdown on an opening drive. Looked like maybe some broken coverage on their touchdown. They caught the running back out of the flat, and then he went through the middle. I don't know if it was – it looked like there was like a D end that was originally dropping out to cover him, and then Singleton dropped back.
That's the problem. It was Singleton that –
and that's what I was going to ask you, too, with Singleton. That's been the biggest deficiency of your defense is that inside linebacker play, specifically him in the pass game. So – they capitalized on it. I think it was Marshawn Lloyd that caught that and basically just walked it into the end zone.
Yeah. So I think that the sooner that we get away from Singleton and the quicker that we get to Red Murdoch and Terrion York, the better this defense is going to be.
The hell's a Red Murdoch?
Red Murdoch was Mr. Irrelevant, and this guy has had an excellent camp. So I think that Alex Singleton plays a pivotal role on this team in terms of leadership, but he's lost his step. Mm-hmm. He's never been excellent in coverage, and we need to find a permanent solution there.
Yep.
And Alex Singleton's not that guy, and Red Murdoch to me has made enough plays for me to be like, okay, let's give the guy a shot. So.
Yep. Do you have any update? Riley Moss left this game with an injury. Doesn't sound like it's anything super serious, at least that I've seen across the news. Have you heard anything with Moss? Is he back in non-contact practice? Is he just working off to the side? Is he not participating? Or what was the injury, and do you have any updates there?
Yeah, so not much of an update. It's a rib injury. If I had to speculate, it's probably broken ribs. So with that, it's going to take him some time to get back to it. If it were me, we have 3 weeks until the start of until the start of the regular season. Riley Moss doesn't need to do a damn thing until the start of the regular season. Just let those ribs reel. No, the ribs heal for 3 weeks. Let him get back to feeling somewhat comfortable. Obviously, it's probably going to take him. Matthew actually broke my ribs one time. It took me a couple months to get back to fully normal. So
that was you.
So yeah, just let the guy rest. Doesn't sound like it's going to be anything that's going to keep him out long term, but just with those ribs, it's an uncomfortable feeling for sure.
Yeah.
So all right, that's enough about Broncos. First team offense looks promising, really great. It was fun, but yeah, just please, for the love of God, figure out these goddamn penalties. All right, let's get into the Kansas City Chiefs. The highlight here for the Chiefs this week was Harrison Butker hitting a 69-yard field goal.
Shit.
What the hell's that about?
And he had a little bit of room.
I know.
That probably would have been good from 71.
Yeah, no, he obviously Harrison Butker's been a really good kicker for quite some time now, but it's always fun seeing a guy hit one of those kicks. So, but yeah, rest of Chiefs stuff. Mansour Delane played this week. Obviously, he's kind of been sidelined with the shoulder injury, but he played quite a bit this week. How did he look?
So the entire Chiefs rookie class is looking really good, and that sucks. That's scary because it's so far. It's like you look across the board, and the positives. It's like Peter Woods is looking good. Delane's getting back into the mix. We have this guy Cyrus Allen coming onto the scene. We have our Mason Thomas making a name for himself as the second edge rusher. If they ace like two of these guys, that's a successful class, and that's really good. And it's
the unfortunate part
sucks.
is it sounds like they've aced four of these guys.
I know, and so they got to be super excited about what they're seeing from this overall rookie class. With Delane, great things started in camp this week. You know, he got a lot of one-on-one reps with Rashee Rice, with Cyrus Allen, and he's locking these guys down, and he's doing what Delane does. He's doing what we expected from Delane. And he's got big shoes to fill, right? He's coming in to be the Trent McDuffie replacement and the CB1 to anchor the backside of that defense. And it looks like he's up to the task. I have nothing but good things to say about Mansour Delane. With that, the Cyrus Allen thing's just continuing to trend upwards. We didn't see anything like groundbreaking with the guy, but he's continuously making plays, and he's gaining a lot of trust in that offense, and he's moving up the charts for getting first-team reps with them. So encouraging things there. With our Mason Thomas, they seemed very pleased with what they got out of him in the 2 preseason games. And we talked about, to me, this is one of the most important picks and positions for the Chiefs because outside of George Karlaftis, the Chiefs have to be able to establish a pass rush. They just have to. Karlaftis is good, in my opinion. He's not great, and you need a guy. If you're gonna stack a dude like Karlaftis, you need someone next to him that's equally as competent. And I think this is extremely important, especially as you're getting Chris Jones aging. Chris Jones, in my opinion, isn't offering the same upside as a pass rusher anymore. As that true DT with the ability to get after the quarterback. I think Chris Jones is losing a step there, and this is very important for them to get our Mason Thomas up to speed because they need it bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's promising as hell for the Chiefs on all these rookies. I would honestly argue that our Mason Thomas kind of had the best game out of all of them this week. He looked great off that edge, batting balls, just doing it all, just being very versatile from that edge position. So I don't think this is going to be a guy that's going to go out and get you 12 sacks a year, but he's kind of the Swiss Army knife at that edge position, and that's an excellent thing to have on a defensive line. So
absolutely.
Yeah, man, it really does suck that all these rookies are looking great because we're kind of looking at a Chiefs team that needed an infusion of youth, and from kind of the first sightings of everything, they've got it.
Yeah,
and that really
we'll see how this translates throughout the season, but so far so good. The last 2 points I want to hit on the Chiefs, a little less positive in one of them. One is the RB2 position, and the second, I was going to say right tackle, but I'm going to go with the entire offensive line as a whole. Mm-hmm. We'll start with RB2. We talked about in week 1, Emmett Johnson played really well.
Yeah.
However, it sounds like this week was highlighted by DeMarcado, and he played really well throughout this week. And almost like a split carry RB2.
Which, can I say something real quick? Last week, I believe we mentioned that DeMarcado was on the 49ers. He never played.
He was not?
Yeah, no, it was all Arizona.
I wonder who else. The 49ers cycle backs.
I know.
Obviously outside Christian.
So, that's just the point. But, go ahead.
But, yeah, just those two. And right now, we don't really have a solidified RB2 in that room. If I had to guess, I think Emmett Johnson is more your handcuff there. But I still think he'll be involved more than like an RB3 would. But I do think he's still kind of the handcuff to DeMarcado.
Yeah. I mean, it's behind Kenneth Walker. I'm not really scared of any of these guys. So
no.
Perfect. All right. And then we're talking about offensive line. Khalil Benson looked like shit.
Yeah.
That offensive line is pretty rough.
It is. They're struggling all over the board, and Trey Smith isn't fully back. Obviously, we don't need to see anything from Creed Humphrey. But even their second-year left tackle, Josh Simmons, is a lot of ups and downs with him that we're like, sometimes you feel good about it, sometimes you don't. How encouraged are we after the rookie year that he had? And then right tackle is just a mess, quite frankly. They were hoping for this competition with Benson and Jalen Moore, and neither of them have – I would say neither have gone out and won the job. Someone's going to win it, but none of them have gone out there and just taken it, right? You want to see this competition where one just takes it, and neither of them are doing anything to take it. You know, at first it was some encouraging signs from Benson where it was like, oh, this guy might just walk into the room and he might have something and we might have gotten lucky. And then it's like, oh, I think the shine's starting to wear off and we don't feel very comfortable there. Well, they didn't really feel very comfortable with Jalen Moore in the first place to walk into a starter role. They wanted that to be a competition because of Jalen Moore. They're not that confident in Jalen Moore as the right tackle, and nor should you. I would say when I'm reading some of the Chiefs stuff, some frustrations is fuck it. At this rate, put in Issa Pole. Like, let's see what we have there. What could happen? He sucks? Okay. We're back to the same point that we already were, right? Yeah. It's just it's not looking good there. And outside of Creed and Trey, I don't like Josh Simmons personally.
No.
Do I think he's going to be awful? I think he could take a step forward. I don't think he's awful. But overall, it just was a bad showing from the Chiefs' offensive line, and they don't, like the Raiders, they don't have a lot of depth at the positions either, specifically their tackles, to make you feel comfortable or confident in this group.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough about the Chiefs. Oh, shit.
Bless you.
Thank you. All right. So I'm just allergic to the Chargers. I don't like them. That's why I sneeze. That's who we're getting into next. That was a good joke, huh? So before we get into this and I let Matthew go on his fucking soapbox, I'm going to just kind of summarize exactly what he's about to tell you.
You don't know.
So he's about to tell you that they
don't
I do know.
No.
So Matthew's about to tell you that they practiced against the San Francisco 49ers all week long. They looked great and that they were winning all of these practices. And then when it came to the preseason game, they looked like shit. But the most important part is they looked good against them in practice. So we have nothing to worry about. The Chargers are going to win the Super Bowl. That's what we're going to talk about. So now that that's summarized, Matthew, go ahead and give it to us more in detail.
This is actually more of a downer episode for me on the Chargers, and I can't start this off any other way than Tyler Biadasz, and this is fucking awful, man. God, every camp, it's something.
We got to look into your training staff. What the hell is wrong with that?
And this was a freak accident. This isn't an injury-prone player. This wasn't a danger. It was a freak accident. Could you people want to just shit on the left guard for throwing the guy like. This shit happens all the time. Mm-hmm. And this can happen at any game, and this can happen in any practice or any preseason game. It was unlucky. That's what it was. But you know how frustrating this is? I think outside of, let's see. I would say outside of Mike McDaniel, the biggest thing we did this free agency was Tyler Biadasz, right? A 3-year, $30 million contract to bring in an anchor of the offensive line in the interior, which was needed. We haven't seen good center play since Corey Linsley. And we were very lucky and fortunate to have him for the stint that we did, and then the heart condition and all this other stuff came up where it forced that early retirement. And then we went to Bradley Bozeman, and we're like, yeah, we had the 32-ranked center in the entire league, a guy who was atrocious. And we saw it, and it was like, dude, we need just we were begging for average, mediocre play. And then they go sign Tyler Biadasz, who at one point, he towed the line of being a top 10 center in the league. He was a former Pro Bowl center when he played in Dallas. And we loved what we had in him and how he was going to fit this scheme and how he just raises the floor of the offensive line. And then this comes out, and it's terrible. It's an ACL and MCL. At first, where we were trying to be optimistic of second opinions, we're going to hold off on the season-ending IR in the event he could come back in December or November. And today they placed him on season-ending IR. So the ACL damage is significant enough to require surgery. So terrible news there.
Yeah, obviously terrible news.
Awful.
I never want to see that. So before I make a joke, I feel terrible about this. Like I never want to hear that. But now for the joke. Is this the news that gives you the excuse for when you guys don't win a playoff game that you can come back?
No, but it sucks, dude. It's just terrible, man. This is so frustrating. It ruined my whole day. It's such a bummer. It is such a bummer. And it just makes you feel like, God, we can't have nice things around here, But I will say, does this change how you view a Jake Slaughter draft pick?
Yes. Yeah,
so holy shit, you have to.
That
right?
was my immediate question. So is Slaughter the guy up to move into that center role?
Yep, he is named starting center.
Okay.
And we talked about this an episode or two ago about, is it a waste of a draft pick for a guy we're trying to transition to guard off his natural position of center that may end up being a backup guard and a long-term center for the team, and is that a waste of a pick? But the versatility, I mean, granted, did Joe Ortiz plan to pick Slaughter to fill in center one because Biadasz can hurt? No one knew that, right? We signed Biadasz to be this 3-year starter. We didn't know this was going to happen. But the versatility of Jake Slaughter offers so much value, and we're seeing it now. We thought he could be a starting left guard, and he was starting to show some really good things. I thought he was great at left guard his first preseason game, and we were starting to get very optimistic about that. And then we see Biadasz go down, and we're like, well, thank fucking God we drafted Jake Slaughter. Like, holy shit. If we didn't draft Jake Slaughter, we'd be in the woodworks right now looking for somebody.
So what is
Mind
this?
you, Jacob Spomer. But go ahead.
What does this do for your left guard position? I mean, is that now? I mean, who is the guy now?
So in my opinion, Awasika has it. I think it's done. But with that being said, which this is kind of the frustrations right now of like, we went from this whole open everybody at left guard competition, right? We have Branson Taylor, you have Awasika, you have Jake Slaughter, we have Trey Pipkins, and then we're like, okay, now we got 3. Right, we have Branson, Taylor, Awasika, Slaughter.
So, my thing here is okay, now you have Awasika at left guard and you have Slaughter at center, but this all goes back to March 13th or whatever it was, when you guys had $95 million in cap space. 100.
But this is...
And you guys didn't spend a 100%. Damn dollar on it. And 100%. Now you're having an average left guard at best in Awasika starting for you guys with no good depth behind him. Now you have a Jake Slaughter starting at center that has never played a snap in the NFL with no depth behind him, and you're almost kind of in the same position that you were last year.
A little bit different. So here's my frustrations. Back to March for free agency, 100%. We made a big mistake, in my opinion, and I'm extremely frustrated at what we did there.
And can I just make one caveat before you get into your point? I will say that yes, as we sit here today, of course your offensive line is better than what it was last year. But as a Chargers fan, like take the glasses off for a second. Can you not just admit that I would be pretty pissed off as a Chargers fan right now, because it's like we were in a Super Bowl window and we didn't do a damn thing to fucking address this shit.
Absolutely I am. And outside of Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, how the O-line has been configured over the years has been a complete failure. Awful. And it pisses me off more than anything. And I love Jim Harbaugh, but we get Jim Harbaugh saying Trey Pipkins is one of our 5 best offensive linemen. That's fucking sad. I'm sorry. That is sad. I don't think Trey Pipkins should be one of your top 5 offensive linemen. Yeah. I hate that comment. I just,
and the truth is that like when you look at NFL caliber football teams, it all starts with your trenches, your offensive line and your defensive line.
Granted,
and the fact that a Chargers have a bottom half of the NFL offensive line, even with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt,
I don't think we will. I still
okay, that's opinion. But when we're talking about 3 interior guys that are either haven't done anything in the NFL yet. Yeah, we don't know what Slaughter's going to be. Right. He could be great.
Sure.
But, I mean, your 2 guards in Cole Strange and Awasika are pretty piss poor.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up. So here's
like,
what I'll say.
It's not a good recipe to win.
We've stressed so much about this left guard position and the battle and who's going to come out on top and what are we doing at left guard. We have 4 spots set. What are we doing at left guard? Maybe the conversation should have been, why is Cole Strange not in a competition? Because I just saw Cole Strange in a preseason game and he looked like shit.
Yeah.
I didn't like what I saw from Cole Strange at all. Right? Cole Strange is a former first-round pick that's been cut and on a practice squad and was a backup in Miami before he got a starter role. And did he improve? Yeah, he improved. Are there some things he's okay at? Yeah, but dude, it's so frustrating that Cole Strange's position has been set in stone while everything else hasn't. In my opinion, Awasika looks way better than Cole Strange does. Jake Slaughter looks better than Cole Strange does. Branson Taylor looks better than Cole Strange does. Yet his position has been the one that has been set. And because he's coming from Mike McDaniel and Butch Berry's scheme, granted, like, I hope they make me eat my words. I hope they prove me wrong and they say, watch, we're going to show you what we get out of Cole Strange. But I just saw a small sample size, and I was not happy with it. It was bad. It was bad football from Cole Strange. He's worse than anything else on this offensive line, and that was extremely frustrating to watch. With center, I love that we have Jake Slaughter to step into this role. I think Jake Slaughter was, in my opinion, the best center in all of college football. I think he was the best center in that draft, and I was extremely happy that we're getting a guy back to his natural position, and this is a lot easier for Slaughter than left guard. And I'm really happy about that. He had less time to work with the first-team offense since he was running it at guard, but I love what I'm going to get out of Jake Slaughter. I think I'm not going to go out on a limb and say he's going to be better than Biotish because I don't think that right away, or that he's going to be a top 10 center. If he proves me wrong, I hope he does. But nonetheless, the floor of this guy is still very high. The floor is better than majority centers in the league, in my opinion, even though he hasn't played in the NFL. I love that we have Jake Slaughter. We are extremely lucky. Of all injuries on the offensive line, give me a center injury because of Jake Slaughter. Don't give me a tackle or a guard injury, but give me one where I have one of the top-ranked centers in the nation in college football. So if there's a bright side, and it goes back to what we talked about with Washington. You don't know how your role is going to come. We don't know when Jake Slaughter's chance is going to come and how it's going to be here, but it's here, and he needs to make a name for it. So that's the biggest update there.
So just kind of put a bow on this offensive line shit. Matthew, I love you so much. You're my best friend. You're the best man in my wedding. But the fact that I know so much about the goddamn Chargers offensive line really pisses me off.
Well, you can't talk about the Chargers without the offensive line. You just can't.
I know. All right, let's move on.
So I'll move on past the offensive line before it just frustrates me even more. I'll go with another negative. The run game in both preseason games has not looked good. Are we being conservative with our play calling because we're not going to show too much of our hand? I think, yeah, obviously, every coach is not going to give you their full package and full arsenal. But has our run blocking been concerning? Absolutely. And I, we saw one carry from Omarion Hampton. We saw a little bit from Keaton Mitchell. We saw more of Kamani Vidal. And we had like 12 carries for 13 yards. Atrocious. It was bad. This run game has not been good. And that needs to get fixed. We need Justin Herbert to have a run game. You have a guy like Omarion Hampton. You have guys like Keaton Mitchell and Vidal. We have to establish a run game. And this wasn't a good showing for it. So, all right, I got to get into some form of positives here. Brennan Thompson, another positive. The week Brennan Thompson just had was really impressive. He did awesome in camp. He torched the Niners for 2 50-yard touchdowns in practice. And then they interviewed Thompson after, and he's like, I tore them up. Like, this was easy. We tore them up. And he was walking all over these guys. So Brennan Thompson looked awesome. In the preseason game, Brennan Thompson had one vertical go route where he burned his defender. We had Brennan Thompson for probably another 50-yard gain, and Trey Lance overthrew him. So he doesn't get any credit for that. But if you go watch the play, Brennan Thompson got open. He used his speed. He burned the corner. We had probably a 50-yard gain in an explosive play to Thompson that wasn't hit because he was overthrown by Trey Lance. But good things from Thompson. Granted, that same play, he got hurt. Okay, we talk about the concern with him is durability given his size. It's nothing serious. He's back at practice in a no-contact jersey, but he's still suiting up. They don't expect him to miss time. So good things there. I'll get into the tight end room. This is both good and frustrating to me. And if you're a fantasy player, you're keeping tabs on this because when they trot out the starters and they say, hey, we're playing our first-team offense, Oronde Gadsden's nowhere to be seen. It's Charlie Kolar and it's David Njoku. Okay, when the second-team offense rotates in and all the starters come out, Oronde Gadsden comes in. Same thing in preseason game number 1. We played no starters. Kolar sat, Njoku sat, Gadsden played. Right? I have mixed feelings on this, but it goes back to what Harbaugh said. If you can't block, you're not going to get the rock. Like, plain and simple. And they need Gadsden to show he can be a blocker. If he wants to be on the field, he has to be a blocker. And I respect that to an extent.
I don't. I hate it.
But Gadsden offers you so much receiving threat that he can't be off the field, in my opinion. He is so good in the receiving game. You're doing a disservice to the guy off the field. And I know he doesn't fit the mold of the style of football they want to play. But then we throw David Njoku in with the first teams. I saw 2 snaps of David Njoku blocking, and it was atrocious. It was bad. And I'm like, there is no way. Is Njoku bigger and a bigger frame and heavier and more solid in the blocking game? He historically has been, but I just saw him with 2 blocks and looked like shit. Like, you can't tell me Gadsden would have been worse than what I just saw from David Njoku. And I know Gadsden's ceiling is way higher than any of these guys.
My thing is it's just like I hate always bringing it back to Broncos stuff, but just some Broncos history. It's just like you look at guys like Shannon Sharp or a guy like Julius Thomas. Obviously, Shannon Sharp is one of the best 5 tight ends in NFL history, but Julius Thomas had an incredible season with Peyton Manning. Both guys were pretty piss poor at blocking. I mean, Sharp was at least willing, but he wasn't good at it. But there was so much upside in the receiving game and so much dynamic ability to their game that it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Because being able to have that guy in the middle of your offense that can make plays and be a big target, it adds something.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's kind of a stubborn coach, old philosophy.
It is. And that's been a Harbaugh knock, if you will.
That's bullshit, in my opinion. Like, I want to put guys on the field that are able to make plays.
Yeah. Here's my thoughts on it. if the counter argument is when Gadsden's on the field, we know you're passing. Okay, sounds good. Let's throw Gadsden, Ladd McConkey, QJ, Trey Harris, Omarion Hampton. You know you know we're passing. Okay, stop it. Show us you can stop that. And granted, did they with Greg Roman? Yeah, but there's a lot going on with Greg Roman. But with Mike McDaniel, okay, like if you know we're passing still, show us you can stop it. Because in my opinion, you have so many weapons with Gadsden and Ladd and Trey and QJ and Hampton. Go ahead and figure out how to stop these guys, right? So that's frustrating to me. They think it's untapped with Charlie Kolar and what they're going to get in the pass game. And he was very good in the pass game in college. So we'll see. But nonetheless, something to note there. And then the last point for the Chargers was the first game. My first response was clean football. This one was just dirty, messy, sloppy football altogether. Penalties, effort, shit. Just overall, it was a sloppy game. This was not a good effort, not a good showing, and it was very sloppy.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a common theme here in the AFC West of the penalties, effort, the discipline. So watching the Broncos game, it pissed me off. But maybe it's just a week
preseason ball,
preseason type of thing. So everyone was kind of a little bit undisciplined. Bunch of penalties in all of these games. So maybe we shouldn't be too worried about it. But do you have anything kind of that you want to finish up here on?
I was just going to say there was only one or two updates with Ashton Genty.
Yeah, what do we look at?
He got injured diving for a pass, had contact with the defender. It is a lower body leg injury. Couldn't put weight on it. Hoping for only a hyperextension or an MCL that's non-severe. But they're also praying that it can't be an ACL or a fracture, which isn't off the table. It's his right knee. Couldn't put weight on it. Very concerning until they hear back. So that's really all we have right now for Genty. He was diving for a catch in the flat, landed awkwardly, and that was it. So,
Well, with that being said, I definitely hope that it's nothing too serious. Again, I mean, obviously everyone knows that both Matthew and I aren't fans of the Raiders, but I like good competition, and I never want to see just an individual human being get hurt. So, we're gonna wrap this one up here. We'll get into preseason week 3 next week. I don't know kind of what to expect.
It's the final week
as far as if starters even play or not. But just a little bit of a programming note. I haven't even talked to Matthew about this. Next week, we will be recording an episode. The week after that, we might have to do like early or later just because my fiance, her birthday is coming up, and we're taking a little quick weekend trip together. So we'll have to figure out an episode for 2 weeks from now. But with that being said, thank you so much for listening in. It was a fun one this week. We'll be back at it next week with more updates, hopefully more positive news. And, go Broncos.